we the people will eradicate CSAM in the next 5 years. Now, if they wanted to, it would have already been done. If they wanted to, though, it could be done in 2 weeks. Why? Because the technology already exists. For example, this is an entire investigation I've done, entire podcast on with a lot more extensive information. I'm just going to summarize right now. It drives me a little bit crazy when new bills are signed, I call it papers are signed and pictures are taken, to make some other form of something that's already illegal more illegal. And like, look, child sex abuse material is already illegal. If anybody is found with it, the law should be enforced in those situations. We should be very emboldened when it comes to protecting the innocent. It should not be something we're afraid to talk about. When it comes to especially crimes against children or internet laws or trafficking, it is already illegal. We don't necessarily need more laws. Now, there are some realms that do have some gaps in where certain laws, for example, harsher punishments or more protection for survivors are absolutely needed. But in general, the bad things are already illegal. In my opinion, we need more education and more prevention. We need to talk about it more in a way that helps prevent it better. Not for the sake of implementing useless policies, but for the sake of actually enforcing the law. Now, child sex abuse material is something that I go hard on. I'm very focused on it. And honestly, I don't see a lot of nonprofits that are focused on it. I do see a lot of nonprofits that call themselves anti-trafficking, raise millions of dollars in the name of combating trafficking, and they're actually just anti-porn. So that's a whole other realm. Pornography is not something that I defend or want to advocate for. However, there's a very big difference in consenting adults and what consenting adults do versus child exploitation. In my opinion, the sooner we draw that line in the cement, because child sex abuse material is already illegal. Nobody should have a debate as far as whether or not it's something we should allow in society. It is not constitutionally protected, etc. There are far less nuances when it comes to whether or not the person consented to it, like in the realm of adult sexual entertainment. But again, it is not child pornography. There's nothing pornographic about a child. That is objectively something that is wrong and harmful and illegal. So if we, the people, were to focus our efforts when it comes to, again, why I focus on digital safety, when it comes to the realm of combating exploitation, I believe child sex abuse material, or CSAM, is the first domino that needs to tip because it's already illegal, because it is objectively wrong. Like, somebody tried to debate me and say it's not, right? In other words, that's a very different conversation than if we are to debate what is currently legal in the United States and constitutionally protected, which is adult sexual entertainment. Now, again, I'm not here to advocate for that, but I am here to draw the line between child sexual exploitation, because this is a solvable problem. Now, here's a very long story short that I've unpacked on many podcasts. We should have eradicated this a long time ago, child sex abuse material, and not only morally and theoretically, but I'm talking about, I have done deep investigations into the realms of adult sexual entertainment, and I have talked to the owners of the platforms who have eradicated child sex abuse material from their platforms. Guess what? The largest online collection of all pornography on the internet, do you know what it is? Google Images. Pornhub gets a lot of flack saying that it's a crime scene, that it's infested with child sex abuse material and all these other accusations. They're also one of the largest, or maybe the largest, pornography site on the internet. I did a lot of investigation into that because of the accusations made against them. It turns out that NCMEC's annual 2023 report, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which is the authority on data on this subject, as well as the DOJ, very reputable third parties have verified that the company that owns Pornhub, his name is ALO now, they were purchased under new management in March of 2023. Prior to, there was a lot of bad things before that acquisition, and now since March of 2023, there is zero child sex abuse material on all of ALO's platforms, including Pornhub. Now, I'm not here to say that, I'm not a customer. Again, like, I'm not here to market them. What I'm saying is, if Pornhub has done it, what is Google's excuse? Now, let's unpack this further, because on NCMEC's 2023 report, ALO's platforms had zero child sex abuse material. Guess who the biggest offender was? Facebook had 17.8 million instances, followed by Instagram, who had 11 point something million, followed by Google, followed by WhatsApp, followed by Twitter, followed by TikTok, and then Snapchat. So here's where I'm going with this. If they wanted to, they would have, but they don't want to. So what do we need to do? We need to make it a profit-driven incentive for these big corporations to do the things they should have already done. Here's how I believe we can do that. If people knew how solvable it was, how solvable this problem of child sex abuse material is, we could start holding them accountable. So hypothetically, if you knew that XYZ search engine had eradicated child sex abuse material, monitored every piece of content, all of this is doable, Pornhub's already doing this, and requires a consent form for every person pictured in every single piece of content, even if you could only hear their voice, they require a consent form, matching a government ID and all these very extensive forensic checks. What is Google's excuse? Point one. Point two, if XYZ search engine implemented this zero tolerance policy for illegal content, what an idea. Would you or would you not boycott Google, who is the biggest offender, and gravitate towards XYZ search engine? So if we even affected their profits by, let's say, 20%, I believe it would be enough to get their attention and motivate them to do the right thing. That's me playing as dumb as I possibly can, because it is ridiculous that this is still a problem in 2025. It is even more ridiculous that there was an entire debate around taking down a platform as big as TikTok, and that TikTok was taken down for about 12 hours. But, oh, we can't end child sex abuse material. No. We're not here to continue playing stupid, but I am here to smile and wave until these things get sent through. It will take we the people making enough noise in the right direction, right? So that's why I'm very passionate, not only about solving the real problems, not the ones we think that our bias tells us to focus on, but the real statistically objective actual problems. And also by coming together, for example, in the advocacy realm, instead of just sort of saying, we don't like things, make them illegal and they'll go away, because I don't see that as realistic. If we could focus on our efforts on, first of all, the low-hanging fruit, things that objectively should not exist and that there are already solutions for. We just need to implement them or enforce the existing laws, for example. Then we can get the attention of these tech giants and say, hey, great, now that we've done that, now let's make sure all the adults here are consensual, all the adults here have consent forms, blah, blah, blah. So it requires this multi-layered approach. And I love meeting people that not only are experts in their realm of whatever this layer is, because there are various layers to this problem, as well as various layers needed in our solutions-oriented approach.